I absolutely never expected this. Right in the middle of our big celebration party, my wife's precious first love actually demands I give up my seat for his little dog, Tumi. He claims Tumi is his and Tham, then Matt's precious daughter, so she absolutely must take the main seat. I immediately brush off his completely ridiculous demand and just go back to hosting our party guests. Seeing me ignore him, Than Matt actually grabs my hair with this totally annoyed look on her face. She tells me to stop pretending I didn't hear him. According to Than, I am just some freeloader husband who isn't even worth as much as a dog. Yet here I am, daring to show off. But here is the truly crazy part. She has absolutely no clue that the courtship technology the Tham group completely relies on to survive was secretly provided by me. And that patent contract? It expires exactly today. I just laugh coldly. Calmly brushing Than Matt's hand away, I answer my phone. It is my assistant asking Director Tran, do we need to renew the chip patent we authorized for the Tham group? End the partnership right now. Turning back around, I see Than already holding Tumi and sitting down in my exact seat, looking incredibly smug about it. I am about to step over and drag Than up, but Than Matt suddenly blocks me. She snaps, "What is the fuss? Go sit over there. Do not fight Tumi for a seat." Following her finger, I realize she is actually pointing at the table meant for the staffs. Children, bunch of 5 and 6-year-old kids are over there screaming around and throwing crumpled paper everywhere. This is exactly that kind of blatant rank suppression people talk about. I am about to argue back, but Than Matt literally puts Tumi right on the table. So the dog can lick water from my glass. Watching something so blatantly rude, I honestly just find it completely ridiculous. This restaurant does not allow pets inside at all. Did you seriously not know that? Than Matt's hand suddenly freezes right as she is petting the dog. She just cranes her neck and snaps back. Tumi is my daughter. Her status is incredibly noble. Who dares restrict her? Hearing her use a dog to flex her status, I just let out a light laugh. You might run this restaurant, but you definitely do not run the company. According to the rules, only people who hold actual company shares get to sit in the shareholder seats. So, does your precious daughter have any? I handle every single major and minor issue inside the company. My rules have to be strictly followed. Than Matt just glares right at me, immediately calling her secretary over to bring a signing pen. She loudly announces I transfer 10% of my personal shares to Tumi. The moment the company seal is stamped down, Than Matt shoots me this incredibly provocative smile. Trach, Tumi's share count is now exactly equal to yours. So what else are you going to say? Before I can even answer her, she pulls out a solid pure gold nameplate and places it right in front of Tumi. As for my own nameplate, she just casually kicks it straight under the table. That is honestly pretty interesting. Across my entire 25 years of life, this is the very first time someone has dared provoke me like this. The surrounding staff also starts loudly whispering. They whisper that Manager Tran is way too petty, actually getting jealous over a dog. Someone mentions hearing that Director Tham and Than used to be quite a romantic couple. They say Trach voluntarily married into the Tham family, which forced those two apart. Hearing the crowd totally take his side, Than gets even more incredibly smug, holding Tumi while scooting right up against Than Matt. I just look at this staff who understand absolutely nothing. I cannot hold back a cold laugh. Daring to offend me? The consequences are far beyond what these ordinary people can handle. Director Tham, do you really want to go against me over a dog? I stare coldly into Than Matt's eyes, keeping my voice completely calm, but she just frowns in pure annoyance, not even bothering to look up at me while fully focusing on feeding snacks to Tumi. Trach, you are just a freeloader living off the Tham family. Mind how you speak. Take a good look at your actual status, and do not think you are somehow important. Years of strict upbringing barely helped me suppress the violent urge to hit someone. Staring at this bizarre trio of 2 people and 1 dog, cannot help but laugh. Why don't you family of 3 dogs go play somewhere else? I don't have time for this. The second I say that, Than Mat completely explodes, shooting up to violently slap my face. Do you know who you are insulting right now? The entire banquet hall drops dead silent. Nobody daring to provoke the absolutely furious Than Mat. Suddenly, Tumi runs right over to Than Mat's feet. The dog just keeps rubbing against her leg until her expression finally softens. Bending down to scoop up the pet, she snaps, "Get lost, Tran Trach. I never want to see you again." Tumi actually provides me with some emotional value. But what do you even have? You are worse than a dog. Hearing those exact words, my inner anger just flares up into a roaring fire. Can you even believe this? I am literally a once-in-a-century research genius. And yet, this is the very first time someone has actually dared call me a useless piece of trash. Not to mention, years ago, it was Than Mat's own father who practically begged for this marriage. So how does she suddenly get to act this insanely arrogant right now? 3 full years ago, when the Tham group was failing hard, Mr. Tham brought over a marriage contract, hoping to use this exact marriage to secure my newly invented core chip technology. Out of respect for our family's long history, I reluctantly agreed. I even gave them my latest chip tech completely free for 3 whole years, helping them survive that massive crisis. Besides, Than Mat was incredibly beautiful, so I didn't exactly lose out. However, because of the highly classified nature of my actual work, my true identity stayed completely hidden. Back then, Mr. Tham swore he would perfectly keep this huge secret. Ever since they finally secured my completely exclusive chip technology, the Tham group's massive orders absolutely skyrocketed. They didn't just barely survive. They pulled off an incredibly spectacular revival to become the new nobility in the wealthy financial world. My relationship with Than Mat was honestly making real progress. That is, until Than moved back last year. She started coming home less and less, proving that forced relationships rarely get good endings. I never forced anything, just wanted to let things flow naturally. The 3-year contract is finally over, so it is time to part ways. Today marks the exact last day of that deal. Hurry up and get out. Why are you still standing there? Than Mat's sharp voice completely shatters my train of thought. My father was truly foolish, she says. Why would he ever let a useless piece of trash like you step into this house? A few of Than Mat's loyal followers standing right nearby start to openly laugh. They whisper that Turnturch is completely useless, never doing any real work, and just running around aimlessly outside all day. If kind CEO Thumb had not taken him in, he would never survive here. I sweep a cold gaze over every single one of them, feeling absolutely nothing but a freezing chill in my heart. What a bunch of hypocrites, just bending with the wind. The whole reason I go out working every single day is to negotiate more business deals for the company, is it not? When they were profiting and getting commissions thanks to me, they praised me to the skies. Now, they judge with such toxic words. But I am not the type to just swallow a loss in silence. And I absolutely refuse to let myself be looked down on. I let out a mocking laugh, shifting my gaze between Than Mat and YTNH. CEO Thumb, do not just focus on me, let's talk about you. Out of 365 days a year, you only come home 5 times. The remaining 360 days, you are practically a ghost. Than Mat's face darkens, gritting her teeth as she mutters, "What do you want?" I casually pick up a teacup, bringing it to my lips in a mock kiss. CEO Thumb, do not tell me you care for your dog so much lately that you forgot where a man's bed even is. A smug look flashes in Than's eyes as he blocks Than Mat, his voice sounding weirdly choked up. Turnturch, do not speak nonsense. Aim your anger at me, but do not ever hurt Thanant. Than Mat stays quiet for a long moment, biting her lip like she just made a firm decision. She never expected you to be so filthy, claiming a dirty mind sees dirt in absolutely everything. Turnturch, since your character is clearly flawed, I speak for the Thumb Group to officially revoke all your company shares. and I am completely terminating every single one of your positions. Instantly, the entire room erupts in chaos, with all the surrounding staff eagerly praising CEO them for making such a perfectly correct and just decision. Originally, I was already getting a headache figuring out how to cleanly sever my TIs from the Thumb company. Now that Thumb Mount has arranged things this way, I might as well just play along. Without saying another word, I grab the contract the secretary hands over and decisively sign my name. The future of the company will just have to rely on CEO them now. I give Thumb Mount a nod, and a flash of sheer doubt crosses her eyes, clearly not expecting me to be so completely agreeable about this. I also leave it to the shareholders, I say, with a casual smile at the surrounding staff. Those lackeys who jumped out to mock me just moments ago all actively avoid my gaze, turning their heads away in total fear. I grab my phone, fully prepared to leave this stupid place behind. But YT suddenly steps up to block my path. What? Cannot bear to let me go. I shove his arm away, a smirk forming on my lips. If Turnturch does not explain this clearly, do not even think about leaving. YT smirks wickedly, pointing straight at TIM's front paw, which is already visibly swollen up. TIM is no longer clueless and energetic like before, just lying completely flat on the chair. I have literally never even touched that dog. It seems today they are absolutely determined to pin the blame on me, framing me with the terrible crime of awful animal abuse. I just give a helpless shrug. Thumb Mount looks a bit hesitant, quickly rushing over to carefully check on TIM's current condition. YT lifts the dog high so everyone can clearly see the swollen paw, telling Mount that little M was perfectly fine this morning. Right after drinking from Turnturch's cup, it ended up exactly like this. Could it really be a coincidence? I never expected anything like this to happen. There is absolutely no way I could have known to poison the water glass. But before YT can even finish speaking, Thumb Mount grabs my collar and furiously screams, Turnturch, they say women are vicious, but I think your heart is far more poisonous than a venomous snake. You do not even deserve to be called human. I am temporarily speechless looking at this deeply emotional, foolish, and completely unhinged woman right before me. I slowly pry her hands off me. I do not argue with idiots, that is my core rule. Alright then, how do you want to be compensated? You guys speak up. Seeing me not explain myself, Thumb Mount actually gets a bit panicked. YT holds the dog with teary eyes. Pay attention to this manipulative move, he begs Mount to step up for their precious daughter, claiming little M is still the one suffering. Hearing that exact sentence, Thumb Mount seems to wake up, glaring fiercely at me. Turnturch, you just want to use money to buy peace and quiet, showing absolutely zero sense of responsibility. Over these past 3 years, I really gave you way too much credit. The more Thumb Mount speaks, the angrier she gets, suddenly remembering something before violently ripping the jade pendant off her neck and throwing it straight to the ground. That is the Turn family's heirloom jade seal. Valued at 1 billion, it is traditionally never passed down to any daughters. But on our wedding day, personally gifted it directly to Thumb I truly hoped this relationship, which started by pure chance, could eventually have a perfectly happy ending. Before I can step in to stop her, the jade pendant shatters completely on the floor, leaving behind nothing but countless tiny pieces. Thumb Mount looks down at me, mockingly sneering that I probably bought this trash at a cheap market and still dared to claim it is worth 1 billion. And I actually believed your pathetic lies, carefully carrying it around with me to protect it all these years. Turnturch, you cannot possibly fool me anymore. Looking at the shattered jade on the floor, I slowly stand up. Let's just get a divorce. If Matt already treats me like an enemy, there is absolutely no point in forcing this anymore. Such a shame about that jade. I originally planned to keep it for Matt to use in a real emergency, giving back a little of her ancestors' kindness, but she destroyed it with her own hands, so she really cannot blame anyone else. Matt hesitates a bit, opening her mouth, but totally failing to speak. Meanwhile, Wai-to-than sits right on the floor, burying his face in his hands and sobbing loudly. He cries out that this is all his fault, claiming his stubborn wish to raise Tiumi is what ruined our relationship. He whines to Than-mat, saying he just wanted to raise a tiny little life with her, wondering why he is being so horribly misunderstood. Than-mat kneels beside Wai-to-than, gently comforting him. She tells him he did nothing wrong, saying the only one to blame is the guy who was rotten from the start. After saying that, Than-mat lifts her head and glares at me with pure malice. Then, she signs the divorce papers without a single moment of hesitation. She screams at me to get out, refusing to look at me for another second. I just take the paper and give a tiny smile. The upcoming downfall of the Tham family is something Than-mat completely brought upon herself. Right at that moment, her secretary rushes over in a panic and whispers frantically in her ear. Than-mat's face instantly goes completely dark. She coldly snaps back, demanding they just make contact exactly like they always have. She yells about them bothering her with such trivial things, questioning what their jobs even are. The secretary chokes up with tearful eyes, explaining that Manager Tran always handled the connection with Dr. Amy before, and now they have absolutely no way to reach her. Hearing this news, the entire room immediately starts buzzing with gossip. It is totally over, since without Amy's chip technology, the company simply cannot function. Whoever dared to say Tran Trach was completely useless. Being able to personally know Dr. Amy definitely means he is not simple at all, but none of them realize the legendary Dr. Amy in the tech world is actually just me using a secret alias. For obvious security reasons, I could never use my real name to sign the official partnership contract with the Tham Group. Than-mat shoots me an absolutely hateful glare before calmly addressing the room. She tells everyone not to worry, insisting that since Dr. Amy has partnered with them for 3 straight years, a renewal is guaranteed. After all, the Tham Group is currently the absolute top chip manufacturer in the entire financial world. She proudly claims the company can survive losing anyone, especially after finally kicking out a pathetic little bug, promising things will only keep getting better. Hearing such incredibly confident words from Than-mat, the panicked crowd of employees immediately starts to calm back down. Only I stand there watching her completely foolish expression. Trying to hold back my laughter, I prepare to leave this ridiculous little comedy show. But hold on, watch this shift. Right then, a bizarre wave of pressure suddenly hits my back, forcing me to turn my head. The dog Timmy, lying in Wai-to-than's arms with wide eyes, suddenly launches itself up and charges straight toward me. Its razor-sharp teeth pierce right through my pants, sinking aggressively into my calf and taking an absolutely vicious bite out of my leg. The pain is so intense I instinctively kick the thing away, instantly covered in a cold sweat as I collapse onto the floor, totally unable to stand. The surrounding employees panic and quickly look away, nobody daring to watch this happen. After launching that attack, Timmy immediately shrinks back into a corner, shaking uncontrollably. Than-mat rushes over, looking like she might check my brutal injury, but Wai-to-than suddenly yells out. He begs Than-mat to come quickly, claiming Tiumi is not doing well. Than-mat actually hesitates for a second, but eventually pulls her hand back, standing up to rush over to Wai-to-than and the dog. My nasty wound is flowing continuously, and my consciousness is already starting to blur. Faintly, I hear Wai-to-than muttering as Tiumi pants heavily, asking out loud if Tran Trach just kicked the poor thing way too hard. People start calling me a terrible abuser, totally turning me into the villain. The surrounding coworkers keep throwing nasty insults at me, but I have absolutely zero strength left to fight back. When that vicious dog rushed at me earlier, I distinctly caught the scent of bitter almonds, the unmistakable signature smell of a powerful chemical stimulant. This whole disaster was clearly a staged setup from the start. Shaking terribly, pull out my phone, trying to call a doctor for myself. I try to keep my thoughts rational despite the chaos, but out of nowhere, Than-mat violently kicks my phone away. stomping hard on my injured leg and screaming that I almost ended me. She demands if I even realize what I did. My entire body goes numb, everything fading. Using absolutely every last ounce of my strength, I force myself to speak, begging someone to please call an ambulance. But Than Matt just glares at me with pure disgust. She actually presses harder on my leg, intentionally, using the terrible pain to keep me awake, warning me to stop pretending. She warns that until Tumi recovers, I am not leaving. She then mocks me, asking if Tran Trach is supposed to be incredibly well connected. She dares me to call the top director of the International Animal Research Institute to treat me. Underneath me, the floor is entirely soaked from my severe injury, making even basic speech impossibly difficult. But Than Matt denies me any chance to even open my mouth. She shoots me a totally contemptuous glare, sneering that I look like a cowardly little worm and absolutely nobody cares about me. She offers a twisted deal. If I drop to my knees, bow to me, and apologize, she will gladly let me go. Absolutely no way. A man only kneels for his parents, so how could I ever bow before a dog? Gritting my teeth, I push past the agony and slowly drag myself toward my discarded phone. You can totally guess my next move. I dial a specific number, sighing in massive relief when they answer. My entirely fried nerves finally relax just a bit. Someone loudly warns Tran Trach to stop stalling around. They tell me to just obediently kneel and apologize to me. So Than Matt cools down. Besides, they mockingly ask how someone like me could ever know the top director anyway. Why Than stands nearby, pretending to give advice, his voice totally failing to hide his excitement. I do not look at him, just whispering who says I am unfamiliar with it. I am not some unrefined trash like you. Why Than gets furious and tries to lunge forward, but Than Matt quickly steps in and stops him. She looks down at me, a tiny flash of pity in her eyes, asking why I have to be so stubborn. But I just close my eyes and calmly reply, just you wait. Than Matt wants to say more, but stops. Suddenly, the room goes completely dark, and a staff member points out the window, screaming, "Why are there so many helicopters out there?" Right outside, over a dozen helicopters are slowly landing directly onto the grass lawn. The cabin doors swing open, and a whole medical team in white coats slowly steps down. Than Matt and Than stare at this unbelievable scene in shock, then turn to look at me, lying flat on the floor, almost completely losing consciousness. Now, their leader immediately clears a path, rushing straight toward me with heavy medical equipment. But Than Matt actually blocks their way, cautiously demanding to know who they are. Those doctors in white do not even answer. They just push her aside, kneeling down next to me to check my heartbeat. She is a rising star in the financial world, though. Than Matt has not been ignored like this in a very long time. Her face turns extremely sour, and she tries to interrupt them, but the other medics instantly block her. A woman standing in the back hands her a business card. It clearly reads Kevin, the head director of the International Animal Research Institute. Seeing the name, Than Matt freezes for a second, but then quickly bursts into a mocking laugh. Tran Trach, is this just a bunch of actors you hired? They are putting on a pretty good show. I have zero strength left to talk. But Kevin beside me just shoots Than Matt a deeply contemptuous glare. Please do not interfere with my work. Seeing this attitude, Than Matt gets even more furious and keeps causing trouble. If you people are actually veterinarians, then why are you treating a human? She points straight at the dog Timmy, currently being held by Than in the corner. My baby girl is severely injured, so you must prioritize treating her right now. Kevin just takes one quick glance and immediately orders a few doctors to check it out. She states sternly, choose my patients based entirely on how serious their condition is. Your dog is perfectly fine, so do not make a scene. Than Matt is clearly very dissatisfied. After all, in her eyes, Timmy is her daughter. Even a tiny little scratch is enough to completely break her heart. The remaining doctors immediately pull her far away. preventing her from continuing to disrupt Kevin and her important medical work. Wai Tathan looks incredibly worried as he gently hands Taimi over to a doctor, constantly telling them to be careful, while endlessly emphasizing the dog's high value and noble purebred lineage. One doctor looks visibly annoyed, takes off his mask, and shoves the medical tools right at Wai Tathan. Why do not you just examine it yourself then? Wai Tathan turns completely pale, stammering, without daring to say another word. You have to love the drama here. Tham Than Mat furiously snatches Taimi back, questioning the doctor. What exactly is wrong with your attitude? If you lack the skills, get out. Taimi is my daughter, and I will not allow you people to bully her. The doctor looks at her like she is totally crazy, rolling his eyes in pure disgust. Your daughter has no serious issues. She just accidentally swallowed a tiny bit of medicine. If you are so capable, handle it. He turns and walks right away, leaving Tham Than Mat standing there totally stunned, while Wai Tathan breathes a sigh of relief. Thanks to Kevin's help, I slowly regain my senses. She says my injuries are incredibly severe, and they already started getting infected within just half an hour. If we delayed even a little bit more, I would have definitely gone into shock, severely putting my life in serious danger. Kevin speaks up indignantly for me. I love animals, but I absolutely will not let them harm a human. Meanwhile, the dog Taimi is still lying there looking sluggish. Tham Than Mat starts panicking, rushing over to beg Kevin for an exam. But Kevin completely ignores her, just telling them to go find her medical assistant instead. But that assistant was just insulted by them earlier, so he decides to ignore them entirely. You people really are just a bunch of cold-hearted veterinarians. Wai Tathan snaps back angrily. Dealing with owners like you, who would even dare to offer treatment? A few doctors standing nearby quietly discuss the whole mess. Tham Than Mat and Wai Tathan just stand there frozen, looking unbelievably awkward. Getting a bit more alert, I quietly ask Kevin about the dog's actual condition. She smiles and whispers in a voice that only the two of us can hear. Taimi's swollen leg is actually from artificial bee venom, and there are even clear needle marks found on it. The sudden crazy behavior was entirely caused by some injected stimulants. As for it attacking you, I'm guessing someone deliberately trained it to do that beforehand. Hearing this, I already pieced the whole puzzle together. Now watch this turnaround. I whisper, help me out with one thing. Kevin asks 0 questions, instantly agreeing, patting my shoulder before leaving. The staff who were laughing at me earlier now see their director treating me so respectfully, and they start panicking. Does Tran Trach actually have some crazy special background? Even the top director listens to whatever he says. Were we way too harsh on him earlier? A few of them even try rushing over to help me up, but I wave them off. It is way too late for that. Every single person standing in this room will pay the price for daring to provoke me. Tham Than Mat still hugs Taimi tightly, her eyes full of sorrow. I slowly stand up, my strength returning, and lock my absolute coldest glare right onto Tham Than Mat. I have already followed through with your little request. Now it is time to talk compensation. I really do not care about some tiny hospital fees. But Tham Than Mat needs to understand one thing. Bullying me comes with a heavy price. She looks me up and down, asking coldly if I am really blaming TUM for biting me, and on top of that, demanding actual compensation. She asks, Turnturch, have you ever wondered why in a room totally packed with people, TUM only bit you? She claims FLIs do not land on whole eggs, meaning I am clearly no good either. Seeing her completely twist the truth, I let out a cold laugh. Why would this dog only chase after me to attack? I already had Kevin look into it, and honestly, I have the answer right here. I just hope Tham Than Mat is actually strong enough to handle the harsh truth. Compensation. Keep dreaming, she says. Then she literally shoves her middle finger straight into my face, waving it around completely provocatively. I really do not want to waste another single word on her, so I just sit down on the nearby sofa, quietly waiting for Kevin to return. Suddenly, Tham Than Mat gets a phone call. Even through the screen, I clearly hear the absolute fury in her father's loud voice. Mr. Thumb yells from the other end, asking why the patent expired. He screams that the entire factory has stopped production, demanding if she knew. Facing her dad's strict questions, Thumb Then Mount stays quite confident. She tells him not to rush. Dr. Ami has worked with us for 3 whole years, she says, so he will definitely transfer the technology again this year. She assumes he just has some personal business, delaying the authorization a bit. That personal business? Yeah, he is currently busy giving up his seat for a dog and getting a messy divorce. In my eyes right now, Thumb Then Mount looks exactly like a total clown. Mr. Thumb suddenly softens his voice, nervously asking if she and Turnturch are doing okay. Surprisingly, Thumb Then Mount casually admits it. She tells her dad to never bring that guy up ever again from now on. She proudly states she just divorced Turnturch, claiming their family does not need a freeloader like him. But Mr. Thumb's explosive reaction leaves Thumb Then Mount completely and utterly stunned. Her gentle father? Gone. He roars out in pure, unbridled anger, for the very first time ever. He is so furious he can barely even speak, just ordering Thumb Then Mount to hand the phone to me. Despite resisting it 1,000 times over, she finally has to obey. Mr. Thumb's voice comes through. He apologizes, saying Then Mount is quite young and foolish, begging me not to hold it against her. A highly experienced veteran in the business world is currently lowering himself just to admit his mistakes to me. Absolutely. Everyone in the room cannot believe their own ears. Thumb Then Mount definitely cannot accept this reality, screaming out loud, asking how her dad could ever say such things. Saying sorry to him? That is just way too profoundly embarrassing. Mr. Thumb gets even angrier on the other side. He never expected the child he raised to be this incredibly foolish, leaving him completely speechless for a brief moment. I quietly speak up, telling Uncle Thumb that this is the situation, and it is really out of my hands. If he is worried, I invite him to come see it himself. I am not saying this to save the Thumb family's reputation at all. I just want Mr. Thumb to take Thumb Then Mount away early, and finally end this ridiculous comedy. Hearing my calm words, Mr. Thumb immediately agrees, strongly urging me to take care and just wait for his arrival. But while waiting, Thumb Then Mount still has not cooled her intense anger over her father bowing down to me. She puts her hands on her hips, glaring down at me. She snaps at me, saying once her dad arrives, he will definitely teach me a lesson. She warns me to start thinking of a really good excuse right now. Hearing that nonsense, I lean against the sofa with a faint smile. Are you entirely deaf? I ask. Did you miss Uncle Thumb apologizing to me just now? Did he ever mention teaching me a lesson? Thumb Then Mount is totally choked up by this, yet she still pretends to stay fully confident. She claims I do not understand her dad at all. It is just the calm before the storm. She offers me one absolutely final chance to quickly apologize to Tum, promising to beg for mercy when her dad actually gets here. Seeing her flash that totally blind confidence right now, I honestly do not understand how blind I was back then, staying by her side for 3 whole years. Not wanting to argue anymore, I just close my eyes to rest. But Thumb Then Mount simply refuses to let it go. Her mouth keeps rambling on endlessly until Mr. Thumb finally makes his grand appearance. A sharp-looking old man steps right out of the car, completely ignoring Thumb Then Mount calling out to him. He runs straight over, tightly grabbing my hands, and tells me he is truly, deeply sorry. I gently point down at my leg wound, signaling it is quite hard to stand. Mr. Thumb's eyes quickly fill up with genuine sorrow. He instantly calls his assistant, ordering him to go throw away the dog his daughter raised. An animal that actively harms people absolutely cannot be kept around here. Thumb Then Mount hurriedly hugs Tum tight, refusing to let anyone touch the dog. YTNH also steps up to shield them, looking earnestly at Mr. Thumb. Uncle, you cannot do this, he pleads. He claims Tum is his and Then Mount's daughter, begging him not to treat the pet this way. Mr. Thumb hits his absolute breaking point. He lunges forward, slapping YTNH twice in a row, leaving the guy standing there totally dazed and unsure how to react. My only son-in-law is turned Turch, he roars out. He declares that all their ridiculous little clown tricks mean absolutely nothing to him. I have been sick of looking at you for a long time, you brat. Thum Than Mount bitterly shields Y teeth nh, turning her head to glare at her father with heavy resentment. What are you doing, Dad? She cries out. She insists Thenh is right, and she truly loves Tum. The dog did not bite intentionally, it is just feeling a little unwell. Saying that, she turns, pointing right at my face. She yells loudly, demanding to know what kind of dark curse I put on her dad. She claims his mind is totally unclear, only defending me. I shrug helplessly, secretly looking down on her unbelievable ignorance deep in my heart. Hearing this nonsense, Mr. Thumb gets so furious he literally collapses coughing. It is true, you never fear godlike enemies, only insanely dumb teammates. Her father turns to look at me, face totally full of guilt, and gently takes my hand. He apologizes deeply, saying it's completely his fault for raising such a useless daughter. His whole body shakes from pure anger, his eyes getting red. He promises to agree to any condition if I just stay with Thum Than Ent. Seeing him lower himself to beg like this, I can only let out a heavy sigh. But things have already gone too far, and my decision is totally set. I refuse to waste the rest of my life with someone who doesn't use her brain. Supporting his arm, I gently shake my head. I tell him I'm sorry, but my connection to the Thum family ends right here. Yet Thum Than Mount keeps right on bragging next to us. She asks her dad if he's actually worried about losing contact with Dr. Ami just because Turch is leaving. She tells him not to worry, claiming that with their current scale, even Dr. Ami would have to beg to work with them. Plus, besides having Dr. Ami's contact, Turch is completely useless anyway, so it's much better if he's gone for good. Hearing this nonsense, her father looks like he just took a massive hit, but I raise a hand to stop him, calmly saying I truly believe our great CEO Thum will definitely lead the Thum Group to even more brilliant and glorious heights. Even someone as clueless as Thum Than Mount easily catches the heavy sarcasm in my voice. She gets absolutely furious, pointing a finger right at me and yelling loudly that she just doesn't understand it. She claims I clearly have zero skills, yet I always walk around acting exactly like some kind of genius. Where does all that confidence even come from? She just doesn't realize my confidence is built on actual power, while Thum Than Mount's crazy arrogance is really nothing but a fragile little soap bubble. Mr. Thum sits off to the side, forced to just swallow his bitter anger. The international hospital staff finally can't hold back anymore. They speak up to defend me, declaring that Turch is actually a total microchip genius. Every single high-tech medical device in our entire hospital uses the exact chips he personally invented. And yet, someone here actually has the nerve to stand around openly mocking him. Other colleagues nod in agreement. They openly mock Thum Than Mount for having absolutely terrible taste in people. Hearing this truth, Thum Than Mount is completely stunned. She never once imagined the reality about the supposedly useless husband she looks down on so much. The guy who slept beside her for 3 whole years is actually a true tech god. She probably always assumed I was just a freeloader scraping by. But watch this. Right after the initial shock, Thum Than Mount quickly puts her arrogant mask right back on. So what? No matter how good he is, he still can't beat Dr. Ami. Dr. Ami is the one who actively asked to partner up with the Thum Group anyway. The Thum Group employees eagerly nod along, doing their best to blindly support their own boss. I let out a soft, mocking laugh. Dr. Ami, huh? What if that actually happens to be my own pen name? Hearing that, Thum Than Mount's knees instantly go weak, but her massive ego forces her to deny it immediately. That's impossible. Absolutely no way. I just give a faint smile. After all, nobody has ever met Ami in person, and I'm the only one who can contact him. Thum Than Mount looks over at her father in pure panic, but he just avoids her gaze, staring quietly into the distance. Right then, her secretary pulls her aside, dropping a piece of news that hits like lightning. All their partners already know. The Thum Group lost the rights to use Dr. Ami's microchip. Technology. Now, everyone is demanding their orders be rushed. If they miss the deadlines, the compensation fees will hit 1 billion. Then Mount loses her balance entirely, collapsing hard onto the floor. The staff in the room immediately panic, begging their CEO to figure something out right now. They cry about having elderly parents and young kids, saying their whole families rely on this salary. Then Mount just stares blankly ahead. It isn't until she spots me that she sees a lifeline, immediately rushing straight over. Turn Turch, you heard them. Please help me one more time. I completely ignore her feelings and swat her hand away. Did CEO them already forget? You fired me, and we're officially divorced. We walk entirely different paths now, meaning we have absolutely nothing to do with each other anymore. She's really desperate now. With red eyes, Then Mount keeps pleading anyway. Turn Turch. Were those 3 years we spent side by side completely fake? She begs for one last favor for the sake of those 3 years. Honestly, Then Mount and I did have a pretty decent run back then. After getting married, my absolute biggest life change was just washing an extra set of clothes, cooking one more portion of food, and spending a little extra cash. But I never once complained about it. Even the group itself was built entirely by my own 2 hands. While I stayed up all night pulling crazy overtime, Then Mount was out wandering around having fun everywhere. And once YTNH came back, those two stuck together day and night without ever separating. Normally, I'm someone who absolutely never tolerates any kind of wrongdoing. Yet for Then Mount, I kept breaking my own strict rules time and time again. But this time, won't look back at all. Right in the middle of this, YTNH suddenly bursts into loud, dramatic tears. He cries, apologizing to Then Mount, saying it's his fault for coming back and wanting a dog, ruining her and the company. He wails so pathetically. But this time, Then Mount doesn't comfort him at all. She just frowns in deep annoyance and tells him to shut up. The gentle comfort YTNH completely expected never actually comes. He just stands there frozen, his eyes wide open in absolute shock. When money and power are on the line, even the most precious feelings aren't worth a single dime. I just give a cynical laugh. Then Mount is still trying to play the emotional card to win me back, but I don't care at all. Right on cue, Kevin walks back and holding a stack of documents. He gives me a quick wink. The results are finally in. Exactly as I predicted. Kevin asks if I want to make this public. I just nod. Once I cut ties with the Tham family, I refuse to let them pin their dirty mess on me. Kevin claps his hands once, instantly grabbing everyone's attention in the room. We happen to have a serious animal abuser right here among us. Her gaze shifts slightly toward the corner of the room, where Than is standing completely quiet. Without missing a beat, Kevin tosses out the full official report. Underneath Timmy's fur are clear marks of abuse. There are needle punctures on the front paws, and a massive amount of stimulants in the blood. Someone purposely spiked the poor dog's food with heavy medication. The only people caring for Timmy are Than and Thanmat. Kevin smiles and politely gestures with his hand asking Mr. Y for a little chat. Than stays glued to the wall in total silence, too scared to speak. Thanmat, on the other hand, quickly speaks up. She insists everyone is completely wrong. There is no way Than would ever abuse animals, let alone pump Timmy full of those dangerous stimulants. She looks over at Than in sheer panic, desperately hoping he will deny it. But he just grips his shirt tightly, not saying a single word. Now watch this crazy reveal. Kevin smirks, pulling out photos. The first shot shows Than in his car, secretly injecting Timmy. The second picture catches him violently kicking the poor dog right in the middle of the street. The third photo is the official lab result for the dog food, confirming it contains an absolutely massive level of those hidden stimulants. And the person in charge of storing that dog food was exactly Than. Thanmat clutches the photos tightly, still completely unable to believe her eyes. Kevin calmly adds that if she still thinks the photos are fake, he also has video footage. Does she want to see it? Tham Than Mat glares furiously right at Y to Than, demanding him to explain himself immediately. Finally cracking under the intense pressure of her stare, he chokes up and opens his mouth. He apologizes to Than Mat, claiming he just thought that if Taimi got sick, she would spend a lot more time staying by its side. That way, the two of them could stay together forever. He swears everything he did was purely for her sake. But Kevin immediately cuts him off. While we are at it, could Mr. Y to please explain why his house is completely filled with photos of Tran Trach? Plus, every single one of them is chewed to pieces. That twisted truth shakes me even more. It turns out Than made me his main target a long time ago, secretly training Taimi specifically to attack me on sight. That is exactly why it only bit me in the middle of a huge crowd. Y to Than tries explaining further, but the cops behind Kevin step up, handcuff him, and drag him away. Only at this very moment does Tham Than Mat finally believe that I never once lied to her. Her eyes are totally red from crying as she endlessly begs me. She cries that Y to Than is arrested, she knows she was wrong, and pleads to just start everything over again. But those desperate words honestly mean absolutely nothing to me anymore. I coldly pack up my documents, getting completely ready to walk out. She swears she will never raise another pet again. She begs Tran Trach, asking if I like kids, begging to have a baby together just so I will not leave her behind. I cut her off completely. Cold. Enough. Let us just break up in peace. Despite that, Tham Than Mat just continues to cry loudly. Father Tham, who has been standing quietly on the side this whole time, now folds his hands to beg me. He pleads with Tran Trach to give their family just one more chance. I let out a bitter laugh, like I never gave them chances. I used to advise Tham Than Mat that they could not keep relying on other people's chips forever. I constantly encouraged her to research and build her own independent tech. I was even completely willing to provide technical support at any given moment. But she never bothered to listen. Plus, the old contract promised me 40% of the profits. Money, I have not seen a single dime of. I could just let all of that slide, treating it as paying off my debt to the older generation. But right now, please just let everything in quietly. Father Tham does not say another word after that. He clearly understands. My mind is totally set on leaving. Besides, the Tham family owes me way too much. A massive debt that can never be calculated properly anyway. Tham Than Mat just stands there looking completely lost, entirely unable to speak. Kevin supports me as we finally walk out of the hotel. Healing torn muscles and bones takes a good 100 days. 3 months later, I'm fully recovered and jumping right back into my normal daily life. And you know what they say about karma. I hear the Tham company went totally bankrupt recently. Every single penny they earned went straight into paying off massive debts. I cannot help but sigh. If Tham Than Mat had not shattered the jade pendant I gave her back then, maybe she would not have crashed into this miserable ending. In this life, people always need to leave themselves a safe way out. Not long after that, I bury myself deeply into developing brand new microchips again. Thanks to Kevin's great connections, I end up meeting a few incredibly like-minded friends.